The most thrilling, spine-tingling series ever.
From the pages of R.L. Stein's best-selling books,
And the screams go on forever and ever.
We now return to Goosebumps.
Greetings, Goosebumps fans, young and old, big and small, living dead and undead, and welcome back to the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Isaiah Vargas, and I'm joined by my good buddies Bjorn Pelenick and Nick Shaw. As always, we are the Goosebumps Crew, and we're back to talk some Goosebumps. If this is your first time joining us here on the Goosebumps Crew, I want to sincerely welcome you all. If you are or have ever been a fan of the classic Goosebumps series of books or the monster franchise that they spawned, I have a feeling this podcast is going to be right up your alley. As I always say, me, Bjorn, and Nick are some of the biggest Goosebumps nerds on the whole planet. We can talk about Goosebumps for hours on end, and that is exactly what we do here on this podcast. Every week we have a brand new episode talking about everything Goosebumps, whether it be the books, TV shows, movies, video games, merchandise, whatever it is. If it had Goosebumps in the name, we're going to talk about it till the cows come home. So with all that said, if you like this episode, make sure you leave a like and comment. Follow us on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Goosebumps Crew YouTube channel, and hit the bell notification so you can get updates when new episodes go up every Wednesday at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you're just dying, however, to get those episodes early, you can catch the audio-only versions over on our audio platforms. We're available over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and other places where you can get your podcasts. Those episodes go up every Tuesday at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, so you can catch them a day early. And of course, you can follow the Goosebumps Crew over on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. All those links are going to be in the description below. You can also check out Bjorn and Nick at Goosebumps Saucy Fan and Sean, respectively, on their social medias and their YouTube. So check them out. Join the Goosebumps Crew today and become a crew member. We thank you in advance for your support. Now, before we get into this week's topic, I want to welcome our two very special guests. I want to welcome Jared and Elvis, aka 90sKidsLibrary and Nostalgic Goosebumps over on Instagram. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing all right.
Awesome.
Thanks for inviting me. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And we're very glad to have you both because, as I've said, I mean, we three are huge Goosebumps fans, but we got to throw you both into the mix too because you guys are also just as big of Goosebumps fans as we are. So we're very happy to have you. And the topic of this week is something that I'm sure the five of us and a lot of other people in the Goosebumps community are very familiar with, and that's collecting. We love collecting Goosebumps. I mean, we could talk about things like the books and TV shows all day long, but our bread and butter is our Goosebumps collections. As you can see, some of us have them right in our backdrop, so you know we collect Goosebumps.
I can't fit in there to do this.
If he could, you would see all that. You would put all of ours to shame. But that is the topic of the week.
Like, open the door and sit in front of it with your laptop. So it can be your backdrop in the room, I guess.
I could sit on the floor.
Yeah. But, we have to settle for your living room or your kitchen.
Tell me what you want me to bring out and I'll go get it.
But collecting is the topic of the week. And as I've said, we collect everything Goosebumps, whatever it be. If it has Goosebumps on it, we're going to probably waste our hard-earned money on it just to have it in our collections. But I felt it would be...
We have no money. We have no money because of Goosebumps.
But we are rich in Goosebumps paraphernalia. So this week, I felt it would be nice to take it easy a little bit and kind of talk about our experiences with collecting and maybe even give some of you aspiring Goosebumps collectors out there a little bit of advice in terms of finding stuff for your own collections. And I guess the best way to start off is with our two guests. So can you tell us, how did you guys start collecting Goosebumps paraphernalia or anything other of the sort? Let's start with you, Jared.
Sure, yeah. So it was well, so when I was a kid, I obviously collected Goosebumps. And then I ended up losing them all, just the way that kids end up losing all their childhood toys. So I didn't have them anymore. And it wasn't until not too long ago, 2019, I believe, I came across two Goosebumps books in an antique shop. It was How to Kill a Monster and Monster Blood 2. And I even remember like How to Kill a Monster, the half of the cover was missing, but I still had to have it. It just brought me so much joy to see it. And
Mhm.
Goosebumps, I remember even when I was a kid, like there's such a there's such a strong retrieval cue, as we would call it, where once you touch those bumps, you know what I mean? Like just that tactile sensation of the bumps on the cover just really brings back a lot of memories and a lot of joy. So I just I loved feeling the book, and I just knew I had to start collecting them again. So yeah, I started looking for them online. My wife actually, for our anniversary, gifted me with a full set, but then I still ended up like finding more and more and building a second set, a third set, and now I have a whole wall behind me filled with just a bunch of doubles.
Hmm. And many other book series as well. You not only collect Goosebumps, but just about every other sort of point horror, kids horror book that there is.
Yeah, I got all the Fear Street books. I got all of the Goosebumps knockoffs for lack of a better word. Uh, yeah, like Spine or no, actually I don't have all the Spine Tinglers yet, but I have Bone Chillers, Dead Time Stories, all those.
Very nice. And then Elvis, what about you? What got you started on your Goosebumps collecting journey?
So I'm actually an ESOL teacher. So as a kid, I was an ESOL student as well. Um, I remember that my ESOL teacher would give me the Goosebumps books, like, "Hey, you can practice your reading with this," and it helped me a lot. Um, that was when I was living here in the States. But then, I had a few books that my parents were able to, purchase. Um, but then when I was like around 10, we had to move away. We went to El Salvador, where nobody speaks English, at least at that time. And obviously, a lot of people did not know what Goosebumps was. And then when we arrived over there, I lost a lot of stuff. My mom lost a lot of stuff in the customs area. So I think I only had one Goosebumps book. And, time passed by. And I remember that 3 years ago, I was watching another podcast, and one of the guys there said, "Hey, I just like purchased a whole set of Goosebumps," and I was like, "Goosebumps?" And did something trigger like in my brain, like I remember that. So I started like looking for one book and then another one. First, it was only going to be Say Cheese and Die and Welcome to Dead House, but then I don't know. I ended up with the whole collection.
That's how they
And then
get you.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's you start with the books. You don't care if it's first printing or not, if it has any inserts, because you didn't even know about that. But then you're like, oh, trading cards, oh, hologram stickers, first printing. So then you start like trying to, go on the hunt and look for those kind of books. Um, and then after that, you're like, okay, I got all the books. And then you start looking at merchandise, and then rare items, and so yeah, I guess I started collecting 3 years ago, I would say.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's tons of fun to collect. Honestly, to collect anything, it's a great hobby to have. I mean, there's people out there who collecting is their livelihood. It really, really is. Um, but it's just a great hobby to have, to just like search out for one particular thing. And Goosebumps, I certainly feel like I speak for, all of us here. It's just that book series where like when you find it out in the wild, you're just like, oh, that's so cool. Like you take a look at it, even if like you don't pick it up, it's still like something. There's such like an adrenaline rush in finding Goosebumps in the wild. That
Do you guys feel like collecting these Goosebumps? Do you feel like it's therapeutic? You ever
yes.
feel that way?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Whenever I find like even a handful of like really good books, it just is like it's just there's an aura to it. Like you just feel like, Oh man, my day is so much better now. And actually, I
Better
have a
than
story about
love.
that I'll tell in a few minutes.
Better
But
than love, Isaiah. Like literally, it's life. Like it doesn't. Nothing brings more joy to me than finding goosebumps in the wild. It is literally better than love. It's better than life.
yep,
It's all those things.
yeah, it's better than laugh.
And
It's better than anything. It's
yeah,
better than
I
money.
feel like I feel like the hunt itself, even like it's of course it's always the best when you actually end up finding something, but I feel like the hunt of looking for the books just brings a lot of joy in itself. It reminds me of just so I'm a psychology professor, but there's this concept or this phenomenon in psychology called flow, where if you get so engaged in a very specific activity, and you just devote 100% of your attention to it, you all of your energy, and everything else just fades away. Like all of your anxieties, everything else that's bothering you in that moment, just falls by the wayside. And so you're really just focused in on this one task. And I mean, a lot of artists have that when they're working on some new piece of art, or if you play music and you might stay up all night writing a song or whatever. But I feel like collecting is very much the same way. It's just that type of hobby where it can be very therapeutic. And I found for me, and probably for all of you to some extent, when you're feeling maybe a little more anxious, you might start collecting a little more. At least that's how I am. And I think so. You guys were talking about it in a previous podcast too with 90s Throwback Kid. But he was even saying during the pandemic there was so much depression and anxiety, and I noticed there was just this boom in nostalgia collecting around that time, and we were probably all part of that as well, collecting
Definitely.
more.
I remember I got on a huge like kick at the start of the pandemic when we were trapped in our houses like that in the quarantine. And I just started like going on eBay. Like I would just go on eBay and find stuff. And that's how I got a lot of, books I was missing and DVDs I was looking for. Like it was the time where I started filling the gaps in my collection, because it was just something that was so fun. You find something, you order it online, and then it comes to you a few days later and you're just like, now I have this to add my collection. It's just, I don't know. I feel like non-collectors won't know like just the pure ecstasy there is in just like getting something you are missing in a set, or like completing a full set of books. Like I remember when I completed my initial set of the original 62, and it was almost like completing an objective in life, like in that sort of thing.
It's like you're filling a hole almost,
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're very right. And even
marathon.
I mean, we mentioned it earlier, but like, even though like we've completed like a full set, then we start making a second set. Like we start like finding the whole set again of the original series, and now I have a full shelf just of doubles. Like I probably have the original series like 4 times over at this point, because it's just fun. Like it really, really is. And you're very right. Like there's just something about like that sort of feeling that brings a lot of comfort, especially as we get into adulthood. Like it's just something that reminds you of childhood in a lot of ways. Just finding those books again just reminds you, like, for an example.
Times.
Exactly.
Scholastic book fairs.
You're very right. And actually, my example is when I first started collecting. So before I started collecting the books, because I started reading Goosebumps when I was in like 2nd grade. So I was like 9 years old, I think, probably 8. I was around that age. But that's when I started getting into it. And I was going to the library and checking them out, but I was like, I think my parents got sick of going to the library all the time. So they're like, why don't we just buy you them? And they introduced me to this wonderful store, which I've probably given so much revenue by myself. It's called Half Price Books. Many people in the States have heard of them, but that is probably my personal number one place in the States to look for used Goosebumps books, is that place. If you're looking to find them in person, like obviously
Just where
online.
you live. I'm telling you, just where you live, because mine around me have nothing. I wasn't joking when I said there's probably a person when they see me, when I come in, they're like, wah, wah, because there's nothing there. And when there is, it's usually like the new stuff, which I don't want. Like,
Yeah.
I have an original 62 set. I have, Series 2000. I'm still missing some Give Yourselves. So I'm really looking for those. And I remember seeing them all the time, like 4 or 5 years ago. And now, good luck. Around, like, Goodwill's not Goodwill anymore. They're very conglomerate almost, it seems. It's very odd for Goodwill. So I never find anything at Goodwill anymore. Half price books, kind of the same way. Like, I literally have come in before, and then they're like, oh, hey, yeah, no, we don't have any more Goosebumps. The lady just came in maybe 10 minutes ago and bought everything we had. Basically pulled an Isaiah and bought everything they had.
Okay.
So
I want to get back to my initial point, but I have to tell this story real quick. Okay. So just a few days ago, from the day that we're recording this, just a few days ago, I went into my half-price bookstore. There's two near me. There's one that's like 10 minutes away, and then there's one that's about 20 minutes away. Sometimes one is over the other. But anyway, I went to the one that was further away a few days ago. Wasn't expecting to find much at the very least. I found 20 Series 2000 books, almost 5 short of a full set in one sitting, plus 2 black spines and a few original series, including Werewolf Skin. 30 books total. Oh my gosh. We were talking about ecstasy. I was walking on sunshine, just like the song, walking on sunshine with that trip. But the funny thing is, I went back yesterday just to see on the off chance if maybe they had some more and they hadn't put them out yet. They just like put some of them out. They didn't. And I went to one of the workers and was like, excuse me, like, is there any like Goosebumps maybe in the back, or are they all on the shelf? And they're like, oh yeah, they're all on the shelf. And I'm like, oh darn. They're like, yeah, somebody came in a few days ago and like cleared out the whole shelf. And I was like, I wonder who it could be.
that makes me okay. So have you ever seen the movie Liar Liar?
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
So when he leaves the elevator after farting in there and just turns around, that's you.
It was me. It was me. I took the books. But no, I want to go back to my initial point. So when I started collecting, I went to Half Price Books, and they used to have shelves. I'm talking 2 shelves at most of Goosebumps books. It was fantastic. And that has since gone away because back in I would say when the movie came out, things changed. Because at that point, Goosebumps was now nostalgic. Goosebumps was nostalgic. Right, Elvis? But it was. I mean, everybody, like, that movie came out, it was a huge deal, and I feel like a lot of, adults that grew up with the books were like, oh yeah, those existed, just like you had said. Like, oh yeah, I've heard of those. Like, I need to get some of those. And then all of a sudden, places that would have tons of Goosebumps suddenly had very little. That was the dark age of Goosebumps collecting, as I call it. But I actually remember one of the first books I ever got on the first trip, because I got some original series, and I got Monster Edition 2. Like, that was looking back, I'm like, wow, I was lucky to find that on my first try. But yeah, since then, I've gone just about every week to scope out those stores and see if they get anything. And I'd say maybe 1 out of 7 trips, like, you'll find something really good.
Yeah, see, there's no way I can find anything near me. Like, the closest Half Price Books is like 35, 40 minutes away. There's like little bookstores in my town because we're a small town, but I mean, like, it's literally like grandma's reading room. Like, it is not a place to go find Goosebumps. So it's like, online, here we come. But then you go online and everything is so expensive.
Yeah, that's what the downside.
It's because they think it's like, oh, it's Goosebumps, it's old, must be worth $1 bajillion, so that's what I'm going to mark it as. Like, well, good luck selling it. Because yeah, I'm not biting.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I know where Bjorn's at. I mean, like, he has what they call op shops, and some of the ones he hits, like, I think there's even a lady for him that holds stuff Like she has like his number and stuff because he goes in there so much. And if there's any Goosebumps that comes in, he's the first call.
I have to now because there's just too much competition, and there's a lot of people that collect it even just near me now. Like there's a guy I watch called the Aussie Flipper, mate, and he goes around and he just goes to markets and stuff. And like one of his friends went with him to a garage sale, and he even said, "Oh, you got any Goosebump books?" I'm like, God damn it! Like he just randomly asked for Goosebumps of all things. So I was like, okay, there's competition everywhere, and that's why you leave your name and your number. They'll call you, give you first dibs. Not everywhere will do it.
Resellers too, you know.
Find a nice little old lady that runs
Won't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like they're resellers, right? The flipper or whatever. He's just flipping the book. So he's not like enjoying them. He's just buying to sell them. Yeah.
He's the one that buys them cheap and then sells them for $1 bajillion, as Nick says. So that's why I have to leave my name and number places now because I don't find things like I used to. I used to find things all the time. That's why I stopped doing thrifting videos because it just was pointless. The best place here is the Book Fest because I will fill a trolley.
Well, and I got to give special shout out to back in the olden days when, funny enough, I used to be just a humble fan of you, Bjorn. Before but I mean, now we're friends and partners. But before it was, I was just a watcher of your videos. And I'm glad you brought up your thrifting adventures because every once in a while you would do a video where you go into a store and see if you can find Goosebumps. And some days there'd be like great finds, and some days there'd be like sometimes it'd be very little or none at all. And that's just kind of the ride. It's like it's almost like gambling. It's like you walk into a store and you roll the dice and like you're gonna but it kind of
but it's gambling when you constantly lose. I don't find thrifting very, very rarely. I constantly go. I'll go a few times a week at least. I pretty much never find original Goosebumps books. It's extraordinarily rare. I will find maybe a Dead Time Stories or one of the Goosebumps knockoffs. I'll find some other books that I find interesting, but not Goosebumps, not the originals from the 90s.
I can't even find
Bone
Fear
Chillers,
Street.
right, Jared? Sorry, you found Bone Chillers, the clown.
Yeah, I found Killer Clown of Kings County in the wild. That was such an awesome find. It was this thrift store that is never open. So this person owns it and they just never open it unless maybe. So the person who owns it's also a tennis instructor. And sometimes her students want to come into the thrift shop and then she'll open it. And I was just walking by at the moment when she opened it. So I went in and that was just it was just part of this pile of books from the 90s, all these kids' horror books. And I was just floored. Yeah, but strangely, that was the fourth one I found. So I found quite a few.
That establishment sounds super shady.
It's the best. I love it. Hey, go to the shady establishments. You heard it from me. Mm-hmm. Yep. You never know what you find there.
That's honestly true. Like you go into, I've gone into weird looking places, but found like some really good stuff. There's a bookshop in the airport near me, like at a place you would never think to look for Goosebumps, but there's a used bookshop. And I went in there once and found honestly, it was a flashback to those aforementioned full shelves at the Half Price Books that used to be there. Like almost a full original series set. I Live in Your Basement and Werewolf Skin and like all that stuff. And it's just like, oh, it's so good. Honestly, look for as many places. Here's our first bit of advice for you aspiring Goosebumps fans. Look everywhere. Like any place that you can think of that may or may not sell used books, look there because you never know who's going to sell something to that store, if they're going to get their hands on anything, you never know. So even if it's a store in a shady alley somewhere with a homeless guy sitting outside of it, but they got Goosebumps in there, check them out because you never know. You never ever know.
That makes me think like of the dude in the alley. Hey, look what I got.
Don't you want a little bit of this?
Topic of that. I had that experience. I had that experience on Marketplace when I went to some guy's house. I don't know if I mentioned.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Oh yeah.
So I'll tell you guys while we're on the topic of shady, weird goosebump pickups. This was the most disturbing thought I was going to die situations. Like, I'm going to die picking up goosebump stuff. And I'm like, that's ironic. Like, that just feels very fitting for my end. So there was a guy selling a bunch of Series 2000s and a bunch of Series 2000s, original 62s. He even had some like merch. He had like a puzzle. So I was like, oh, dude, I'm going here. And he lived in a place called Jim Boomba, which is like, the name is weird as well. It's like out in the middle of nowhere. It literally was in the outback, mate. So I drove to this guy's place and he gave me the address. So I pulled up and he said he'd be waiting outside. And I'm like, there's no one here. And then I hear like 20 houses down, some voice going, "Hey, you ever the Goosebumps books?" And I'm just like, oh my God. And so I was with a friend, Logan, as well. So we both went and I was like, okay. So we started walking down to the guy's house and he's like, you can bring your car in and I'll shut the gate. And I was like, no, bring my car in, shut the gate. Like, this just sounds really shady. And as we're walking through his property, there's like dogs barking at us, like literally like on leashes and stuff. And I'm like, okay, we're dying here. This is it. We're going to die. We're picking up Goosebump books. This is the end. Okay. And yeah, so we were freaked out, but then we're slowly walking to the back of the property. We're going past his house. And I'm like, where's he taking us? Like, we're going to die. We go to this like little back room somewhere where the shed is. And Logan turns the corner first. And as he turns the corner, I'm like, oh my God, like clobbed on the head. You know what I mean? And then no, we enter this room and there's just this pile of Goosebump books on the ground. And I'm like, okay, all right. And then, yeah, so the books are on the ground. There's a puzzle there. He had so many Series 2000s. I think he had like 10 copies of the same Invasion of the Body Squeezers Part 1 and 2. Like, he had multiple copies of those ones. I don't know why. And then again, I thought, hey, why am I saying that? I have 30 copies of Night of the Living Dummy 2, 3, whatever. So, yeah, he had all this stuff, and he's just sitting there, like, talking to us, and he's like, oh, I told you I had all these Goosebump books for you. Beeping you. I'm not going to say this, yeah, but yeah, it was just, oh, dude, it was so terrifying. I'm like, I can't believe it. But then
Leatherface pops up or something.
I tailed it out of there very fast.
It's very much a Wolf Creek moment for you, all you horror fans. If you've watched that, it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
but great Aussie film, Wolf Creek. If you haven't seen it, it's very grounded and very real. Like it honestly, it's not like some serial killer monster. It's just a crazy dude that lures you there, and watch the movie Wolf Creek.
Yeah, but
basically that's how like the equivalent here in America, where we have the white vans with the guys with the here, I got some candy for you. Come on, little kids. Basically, this is the Goosebumps version of, a kidnapper / killer. Hey, I got some goosebumps for you. Come on over here. Yeah, you like that, don't you?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, Chris? Yeah. The guy.
Well, hey, and I gotta bring up, because you guys, we were just talking about how, Jared, you found that super rare bone chillers, but I mean, you both like find some really cool stuff like every now and then. If you guys have not followed 90s Kids Library, Nostalgic Goosebumps on Instagram, check them out there. But they're always posting about like all the super cool stuff that they find, Goosebumps or otherwise. But I gotta ask you guys, what are some of the best things you ever found in collecting? Ellis, let's start with you.
So this was a year ago, even though it's not as rare now, but back then it meant the world to me. I remember that I was on a hunt for the Art of Goosebumps. It was nowhere. Like, it was just rare. And if you were ever to find one online, I think it was like, I saw one for $350 that was sold at that price. I was like, so I just started like looking online for like a lot of, eBay, Amazon, and all those places. There was nothing. So I started I went to Google and I tried, there's this, option like advanced search or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did that several days and I came upon this bookstore in Chicago, and they had their own website, and they had only one book in stock. I'm like, okay. So, and it was $29.99 at the time. And I was like, this book is being sold like over $200 or $300. I was like, if I lose $30, it's not that bad. At least I'll try. So then I just purchased it, and it was like, okay, we're fulfilling your order and blah, blah, blah. So after 2 days, I called the store, and I just to confirm, like, hey, I purchased the book, The Art of Goosebumps. Is that actually coming? And they're like, yeah, we're just like packing it up right now. You're lucky it was the last one we have. And it even comes with Tim Jacobus' autograph, like a book plate with it.
Dang.
So
Wow.
I think I waited like 4 days, but I still didn't believe it. I'm the kind of person, if I don't have it in my hand,
Yeah.
like, so I just waited and waited. And then once I had it, I was like, wow. It even came with the I wouldn't say like a price tag, but it did say on the back something about if you go to the front counter, we have book plates of the author. So yeah, Tim Jacobus signed that, and I was like, wow. For me, it was amazing. And then I believe you guys, that was like April last year, and I think you guys started the podcast like, was it November, December?
Yep, November of 2023. Yep.
In your third episode, I remember it was with Tim Jacobus, where he said that they were making more. So I was like, oh, cool. Because I had an extra one, and somebody was like, please sell it to me. Please sell it to me. I was like, how much? And they're like, 200. All right. And I just sold it. That was before you guys had the podcast. But then after that, I was like, woof. I sold it on time. I used that money for more merchandise.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say is like, oh, I wonder how the dude who bought that for 300, 350, like was feeling after that. Hopefully he doesn't watch the podcast and never found out.
The first print.
The thing is that was first edition, first printing. I mean, first edition, first printing. So it's valuable as well, you know.
You paid for the first print.
Yeah. Another piece of advice for Goosebumps fans, real quick. First printings, first editions, those are the rarest things you could find of any book, even a new one. Like eventually 10 years later is going to be probably like 10 or 15 printings of that book. So grab the first printing while you can, because you never know how much it's going to be. Like Welcome to Dead House first print, first edition. Probably some of the rarest of the rare.
I'm here to try to find.
I got 4 of them.
You have 4?
Wow.
Yeah, I found.
I'm all Goosebumps.
I sold one, but yeah, I still have 3.
That stuff is super rare right there. So if you find even an original series, if you don't think it's don't think it's that special, check. If it's a first printing, it is special. And
sorry, there's one on Etsy. I don't know if it's still there for. I think it was on discount for like $45. I think the person selling it doesn't know it's a first printing.
Nick, get on it.
Welcome to Dead House first printing.
Yeah, first printing. Yeah, it only has a sticker on the cover though, so I don't know if you remove that. It's like flames or something like that.
Oh, I saw that one. That was on eBay for a while. Yeah. I don't think you could remove that sticker without damaging the R.L. Stine part.
Yeah.
Another thing for Goosebumps fans: don't put stickers on your damn books.
It's like the guy that bought up every single copy of Welcome to Camp Nightmare VHS, and now he's just like trying to sell them for some ridiculous price because it's like probably the last Goosebumps VHS that came out in the UK, like anywhere, and it's just. I don't know who the guy is, but Nick, I think you know who he is, but he bought like every copy of Welcome to Camp Nightmare on VHS, and he's just like selling them.
And one more thing to that point about the first printings, the first 6 books in the Goosebumps original series that have no numbers on their spines, those are early editions right there. So definitely grab those. If you see one without a number, get it, because it's rare. It's very rare.
I have some duplicates right there right now looking. Let me.
I have a lot of Monster Blood ones with no numbers, but I've also found Mummy's Tomb, Say Cheese and Die, and actually a Living Dummy first edition. Yeah.
I think Mummy's Tomb is probably the most common to find.
I found more Monster Bloods
that way.
But I did find
out of the basement twice in the same freaking book fest. Nick knows about that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Same book fest, stay out of the basement, 2 copies, first prints. I was like, holy moly. So that was pretty exciting.
And Jared,
Yeah, I'll
what
take it.
about you? Some of the best pieces in your collection that you found?
Like lucky finds, I'm assuming, right? Not ones that I actually
Yeah.
ended up splurging on. Yeah, so definitely that Bone Chiller's book I found in the wild. That was pretty amazing. I found a special edition Return to Terror Tower one time at a used bookstore for a couple bucks. The best, I don't know how much we want to dig into like all the advice I'd have though, but really the best finds that I get are just all online. I search pretty often, just whenever I have a free moment, I'll just like scroll through eBay, I'll look through my alerts, and if I see a good deal, then I grab it. And sometimes there's books that maybe aren't too hard to find, and it took me a while to get them just because I'm at heart, I'm a bargain hunter, so I have to get a really good deal on all my books. That's just how I am. And I think that I guess I would have a lot of advice. So
Yeah.
want to get to that part right now.
Yeah, we'll get to that a little later. I am
So we can
curious
talk
to
about it
hear
later.
your advice.
Yeah.
More to the point about online collecting. Actually, first of all, I forgive me, I don't remember which one of you was it, or even if it was one of you who found the special edition, super rare Tales of You Goosebumps book in a random lot. I feel like it was someone. Was it you, Jared?
I mean, I've definitely found the Tales to Give You Goosebumps books. Are you talking about
Like
the
the sneak preview.
one.
That's what I meant.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That one I got online for $20. Yeah,
Oh.
I was really excited. It popped up on Mercari, and I've never bought something faster. Yeah.
Yeah. You even found a Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes book in a lot too. You have
Right,
good
and
luck with lots.
That would be one of the central pieces of my advice is to buy big lots, but we can, definitely do that later.
Well, and you brought up Mercari, so that's another thing I want to bring up in terms of advice. Look at Mercari, and actually look at any everybody's first instinct is to go to eBay, and eBay can have some good stuff, most definitely. But a lot of those aforementioned people who sell stuff for big prices usually go to eBay. So if you're looking for
Right.
mainstream stuff, you'll probably find it there, but the price is going to be big. If you, however, want, I don't mean to cut you off,
that's cool.
but
Yeah,
if you ever want to find Goosebumps stuff that's maybe not as highly priced, but you're going to probably find some good stuff, go to Mercari, go to Etsy, go to Pinterest, like all these like places that
Facebook Marketplace.
Facebook
I found
Marketplace,
stuff on there.
like
Yeah.
these places, like you're not always going to find gold, but like when it shows up, it's going to be there, and it's going to be for at least a decent price.
I got that Goosebumps, the Attack of the Mutant computer game. I don't know if you guys remember that. Brand new, sealed for $10 off Marketplace. And it was a sample copy. $10.
And
Awesome.
I found a Trick or Trapped. The Give Yourself Goosebumps. I found that book on Facebook Marketplace in a lot of 4 books for $5. So basically, I paid $1.25 for one of the hardest to find Black Spine special editions. That was a good one right there. But Jared, I apologize. I was cutting you off.
that's okay.
What did you have to say?
Oh, I just wanted to mention that, eBay, the reason that the prices are so much higher is that they give you recommendations on how much to sell it for, based on previous sales once you're actually posting it. Mercari, I don't know if they do that, but if they do, they just don't have as much of a sales history for each of the items. But also that whole algorithm that eBay uses to recommend prices for things can also work in your favor, because sometimes it thinks that the seller is selling one book when really they're selling another one, or they're selling a big lot of books that has TV Presents Revenge of the Lawn Gnome in it. I also got Trick or Trapped in a big lot one time, pretty cheap. So it can work in your favor too. Sometimes eBay works out, but yeah, Mercari is also really good.
Yeah, that's one I feel most people are slowly but surely finding. It took me a while to like really hop on the Mercari train too. I'm not huge on online Goosebumps shopping. I like the thrill of going out in the wild and finding stuff, but I would definitely say if you're ever to find like rare stuff, or just sort of like merchandise, I would definitely go to Mercari or Etsy because there can be some good stuff
There's
over there.
one called Whatnot as well. Whatnot.
Yeah. I want to say
I found some stuff on there.
I got like a fan club pack very recently from Mercari. It was completely filled up with a bunch of like old merch and a lot of the original fan club paraphernalia, and I got that for $25 on Mercari. It was just amazing. I was so happy because I've been looking for one for a while, and I've been seeing like just the boxes alone are selling for like $100, and I just want to spend that. But yeah, check out Mercari. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I also gotta talk about the one time I went to Half Price Books and I found two sealed box sets of the original series. So, for those familiar, the original series, there's some box sets of 4 books that came out in the 90s, and I found 2 of them like 2 years ago, or even maybe 3 years ago, at Half Price Books, and they were sealed, and they came with a door knocker. And they're on my shelf back there. But it was books 1 through 4 and 5 through 8. $50 for both together, so they were 25 each. That was a fantastic find right there. That was like one of my best finds out in the wild.
Nothing beats finding things in the wild for Goosebumps. Like, especially, like, the books are amazing. I love finding the books, but if you find a piece of merch in the wild, nothing really compares to that feeling. Because that's what you don't see anything of. And when you do, you might find a game lovely. You might find a HS tape. You may even find an audio book. But when you find something like that sitting on a shelf, it's like, oh my God. Like that feeling is just like incredible, especially if it is at a thrift store or something and someone's just like donated it and it's ended up there. But now I hear they have a section at the thrift stores where they put like more rare stuff behind the counter. So I feel like these days they probably put it behind the counter and slap like $80, 100 or something, I don't know, whatever on there. But it's the best feeling ever. Like, you know, I found a whole set of Goosebumps. I found a big duffel bag, like sports bag. I found a school bag and a fanny pack all together with tags on them. And they all had cuddles on them. So it was like a set. And it just looked like old stock. And it was $10 a piece. And that was 4 years ago. So yeah, it's just
another advice based on what Jared said was, I remember, I think it was earlier this year, there was this person that was selling, the only 2 people that I've seen, if you guys have had here on the podcast, I've had this Panini magazine of Goosebumps from Spain, have been Goosebumps Completionist and Jude Lucas.
DeLuca. So,
yeah. The only thing is that Jude Lucas, I think, there are 3 magazines that came out called Pesadillas, which is the Spanish version of Goosebumps. And they were on eBay a while back, and they were there for a long time. So I started like trying to get a better deal with the person because the price was pretty high. Eventually, like every 2 months, I was like, hey, you still have them? Would you accept this offer? And eventually they said, yeah, sure. But then the advice comes here, like whoever is selling you something online or in person, always ask, do you have anything else? Do you have anything? Because like, for example, they might have an extra curly braids, lying around there. So then he's like, yeah, I actually have these figurines that came out, and it's like a special promotion between Goosebumps and Pepsi. I'm like, never heard about that. So then, yeah, he's like, I'll send you pictures. They're basically the same figurines that Bjorn has, the Tombola, but they come like in a different presentation. So there's supposed to be 2 boxes with, I think, 7 figurines in each one, and it says like Pesadillas, Pepsi promo, something like that. So I actually purchased that as well, and that was not listed. I haven't shown that yet on my Instagram page. Planning on doing that soon, but that was pretty interesting to find because I never expected that. Because I was like, these seem familiar. But then another advice that I would give is, I remember Bjorn. I've been following him for a while, and if I need to like find some information about Goosebumps, I would go 5, 6, 7 years ago on his videos, and I remember I found this guy that he was talking about.
Yeah, the
I do now, so I have a duplicate if anybody wants this. But yeah, these I remember you said that they were not sold. They were just like a promo, I believe.
promo competition. There was when the movies came out, as I said, like obviously we didn't get much merch at all, like official licensed stuff that you could go pick up. All you got was some posters, the movie board game, soundtrack vinyl. You had the Tim Jacobus art or just the movie poster art, and then you had like the CD. And in Australia, did like a show bag. So there was just little crumbs like sprinkled here in Australia, a little few crumbs there. And then in Canada, they had an actual bobblehead you could buy. They had a keychain of the jack-o'-lantern, and they had a pen of the lawn gnomes that would like slide as you like moved it. And it was just like 3 random items in this store. So there was little to nothing. But then they started posting all these competition ads all over like Facebook and stuff. And it was like, enter this. There was like some over in the UK, there was some over in Australia, some over in in the US. And one of them specifically was for that bobblehead, a tote bag, some stationery stuff. Yeah. And yeah, it was literally just for that promotion, that competition, the bobblehead. That's it. And I've seen maybe about a dozen of them in total. I have 2 just in my collection. That's only because Avery Jones gave me his one because he had a couple as well. He gave me one. But yeah, that bobblehead, I don't know the exact number of how many there are, but I'm going to say you're lucky if there's maybe 30 in the world, maybe. So yeah, when you were like looking for it, it's like, dude, just buy it because you don't know one day in 10, 15, 20 years, like how much that could be worth. And yeah, but that's why I bought 2, just so I could always have one. And then one day if I am desperate, I will sell the other. But yeah, it's... it's one of those really cool items that you just couldn't buy. You had to literally be there to win it or hope that the people that did win them were selling them, and that's what happened. A lot of those that won the competitions, they sold the stuff. That's how I got all the movie promo stuff, was just through, people winning and then selling. And I saw some people win a competition, and then within like 2 days, they were already up on eBay or wherever. And it was crazy. Like a guy that won the lawn gnome competition, because I didn't win it. It was to get the original prop from the movie of the lawn gnome. He messaged me like later that day after winning it saying, hey, I don't actually want this, but I'd rather send it to you because I'd rather you have it in your collection. I was like, oh, how much do you want for it? And he's like, I don't really want money. Like, I just want it to go to a good home. Can you just pay for the postage? And I was like, what? So I just paid to get it. Yeah, it's the original prop. Like one of the coolest props you could have from the movie would be obviously one of the lawn gnomes and maybe like the Slappy doll, if you could get one, but when you find out how much it's worth, well, that ain't going to happen. So to get the lawn gnome was kind of the next best thing in a way to have. So yeah, I was stoked to get that, and I didn't have to pay anything. It was just here you go, look after it. I'd rather you have it. And he's like, in a way, I kind of entered the competition hoping to win it and just like give it to you. So I was like, cool.
Yeah. Really cool. Yeah, there's one, there's been one on eBay for a while now. I've been watching it. It's been going up and down. One of those lawn gnomes.
Mm-hmm.
It's for a while it was like 3,000, and then it went to 1,500, and then it's back to 3,000 now. So I'm probably not getting it. But
yeah,
just if you win the lottery or something, this is just pennies now. I'll buy that.
That's why I'm keeping an eye on it. For when that giant financial thing happens to me, and I have all the money, I'll just get it. There you go.
Yeah,
and exactly. I tell people all the time, like, 'cause I'm always talking about like Goosebumps, probably ad nauseum to my friends, but they're always shocked that like Goosebumps had so much merchandise, and I'm like, definitely, like Goosebumps is a franchise that like you would not believe how much stuff there is for Goosebumps, and as we always talk about, like it seems like there's everything for Goosebumps, and like whether it be merchandise or books or DVDs, like all sorts of stuff, promotional stuff that never got released. Like it's always like, if Bjorn's collection is a testament to anything, is that there is thousands, like probably tens of thousands of Goosebumps things out there, like in
for sure
every single way. So
and the crazy part is, like, and Bjorn and I have talked about it before, like we still find new stuff we never knew existed, probably on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like
all the time.
it's wild.
There's an air mattress that's not advertised on any of the other camping gear things that you can buy, like the camping tent, the what do you call it, sleeping bag, the weird tote bag thingy they brought. All those items that have like the back, because obviously it has the promotion on the back of what else is available from that same company. None of them promote an air mattress at all. So when one randomly went up on eBay, it was like, oh, there's an air mattress too. That wasn't promoted on any of these. It's like, and not only that, it's literally the same exact design as the sleeping bag of the mummy on the skateboard. So it's identical. It's just an air mattress, not a sleeping bag. But I didn't buy it because it was really damaged, the box. It was. I was like, look, it's out there now. I know it exists. I'll just wait.
Well, there's even there was like a prototype toy that made its way onto eBay like last month. And that was a big deal right there, because it's like, it's not just a toy, it's a unreleased prototype that like never made it to stores. And up until that point there was just an advertisement or like some kind of print ad for it.
What's it called?
It was in a catalog, wasn't it?
The company that made it. It was like the main one that did all the.
It was Hasbro, yeah. Hasbro. So Hasbro initially had a toy deal with Goosebumps, and they were going to do a whole line of Goosebumps toys and everything. And what surfaced was, it was basically a Slappy doll, but it looked more like a Barbie doll with Slappy head on it.
Slappy head.
Yeah, it's weird because the body is big, but the head is small.
I was gonna say it looked like a Goomba from the Mario movie, like gigantic body and little bitty head.
Yeah,
look, I wanted it, but then the thing is, a lot of people were posting about it, and I kind of was like, it's really cool, but I'm not paying like 800 or whatever it was going to be Australian.
Yeah, how much did it end up selling for? I know you were keeping an eye on it.
I think it was about 400 US dollars. I don't know.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4. But when you convert that to Australian dollar, it's another 300 on top of that, probably.
Plus the postage. It was like 800 something Australian dollars. And I was like, I'm not paying that for a Kindle. I do have a prototype of one of the monster bags, though, the Slappy monster bag. And it's like an unpainted one. I do have that. That actually came from Avery Jones as well. He gave me like a whole bag of just prototype little Slappy figures. So I have those. They're pretty cool. But yeah, no, it's a shame. Like, but then it makes you think. There was those other toys. Those, what were they? 18-inch ones.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's an imported mask one, and I'm like,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
They must exist somewhere.
Awesome.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like if one exists, then they all must exist, like somewhere out there in the world.
They took pictures of them, so I mean, they had to.
Yeah, I was going to say they exist for that reason alone. They took pictures.
Well, it was found on an estate. Like it was just in some like random estate somewhere, and then it just like
closet.
Yeah, just like some dude found it and put it on eBay. It's like, never underestimate where things are going to pop up, where and when things are going to pop up. You never, ever, ever know. That's why, again, keep looking, keep your eye on things, because if you're looking for Goosebumps stuff, you never know when one day you're going to be the one who stumbles on a listing for something like super like hard to find, or like like one of a kind. That sort of thing.
Dude that found the so obviously, during, like you were saying, with COVID, everything was skyrocketing in price. So like Pokemon cards were like the biggest thing happening during then. Like Logan Paul, I'm not a fan of him, but he made all those videos of like buying those first edition boxes that were like $400,000 he paid for some. And I'm like, and then there was that dude that literally found in his closet half a dozen boxes untouched of those first edition boxes, and so he sold them during that time, and now he's a millionaire. So yeah, hey, like come on, man. If you thought if you had that
still big, man,
then,
I'm telling you what, it's crazy. It hasn't died down. Like Goosebumps stuff hasn't died down. Like because Goosebumps stuff goes through a flow. You'll hit some lows, and that's when the time to buy happens. But honestly, we've been at a steady. It kind of went up and then leveled. It hasn't really went back down. There's actually quite a bit of stuff that, like, I remember getting, I don't know, like 6-7 years ago for pretty cheap. I mean, considering what today, like the Freaky Frame, for instance, I don't know. I think I paid like $80 for that thing or something back in the day. And I thought that was a lot. But now I'm seeing people trying to sell it on eBay for like $250, $300. I'm like, guys, come on.
Collectors,
It's cool. Come on.
like community is super large right now, and that sort of stuff it's inevitable. Like I said, I feel like it started with the movie when Goosebumps officially became a nostalgic property. So it was just an inevitable turn of events. But one thing I got to give shout out to for also putting me, actually two things that put me on the path to wanting to collect Goosebumps. One of them is my former neighbor. Before we moved to where I currently live, I used to live on a street, and right across the street was a friend of mine who had his own little Goosebumps collection. He wasn't much of a collector, but he had his own like shelf of Goosebumps, and I was always so jealous of him because I was just starting out. So every time I would go over, I'd go into the room and just like stare at the books. I'm just like, I wish I had you. And now I have
feel when I see Bjorn's collection.
Exactly. And now I have that in like tens fold. So sometimes I'll just look at my shelf and just be like, hot damn, that's beautiful.
You got the main thing you wanted from my collection, Nick. You got that cardboard VHS thing.
That's true.
At least I know if you ever decided to. Well, I know you're never getting rid of it, but it would just go back to me. Lives with Nick for as long as you want.
But another thing I have to give shout out to is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this like I am, but back in the early days of YouTube, I used to peruse for Goosebumps videos, and there were people who would make videos of their Goosebumps collections. Crazy concept, I know. But it would be like those things where they would have like a little camcorder, like no lighting at all, and they would just have their stuff like stacked and just be like, hello, today I'm going to be showing off my Goosebumps collection. Starting off, we have Welcome to Dead House, and we have Stay Out of the Basement. And I don't know, I just loved those kinds of videos. I ate them up like candy, to the point where I wanted to make my own, but I didn't have a YouTube channel at that point, so it was just kind of for my own prosperity. But no, it's just, I don't know. What else can you really say? It's just like there's a lot of fun to Goosebumps collecting, and I feel like we've all found like really cool stuff online or in the wild. And we've kind of been giving our advice up to this point, but I want to really hone in on that a little more, especially with you, Jared and Elvis. What other advice would you give to any aspiring Goosebumps collectors out there who are looking to start or grow their own collection?
Elvis, you can start. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, having alerts depending on the app that you're using is very important. That's how I came across with the recently the 2000 fan club box. I was about to go to sleep. So I was like, let me go on eBay. And it was like, and I started reading, and I saw the cap because normally the cap is always missing or something. And I was like, oh my God, it's here. So I was like, all right. I mean, I read the description first to make sure, and it said that I believe everything is complete. I'm like, and I started looking quickly before purchased it, asked more questions about it. I always like to find like the background history of the items, like who was the owner, where are they coming from. So after that, I remember when I had it in my hands, I messaged Bjorn. I was like, "Hey, I just got this," and then we just started talking about it. He showed me his collection. Do you have this? I'm like, "Yes, you have this. Yes, you have this." So it was really cool. And then I noticed that I was missing a Scream newsletter magazine, which is purple with that series. So I was like, I've seen this before, and I remember I think a year ago, I believe you, Nick, had that magazine in a fan club box. I think it was Curly's, the bigger one.
Yeah, it was a different fan club box though.
Yeah, yeah. So it was there. Obviously, you had already sold it. I was like, oh. So then I started looking for it. That was my new hunt, and guess who had it? We all know him. Boo.
Bjorn.
Curly.
Oh, boo, it's Curly.
Yeah. He had it in a lot, so I purchased the lot. I was like, well, I like that fan box too, so I'll take that fan box. I'll take the newsletter, and I'll complete the other one. So I ended up with 2 fan box in a week. which
Wow.
I was not planning on, but it's so having alerts is very important. That's when you know what you're looking for. But if not, I mean, you have to think first, like if you just want the books, merchandise, rare items. Um, yeah, just I guess if you're beginning, just start with the books and see where that takes you, like
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, the books are going to be
Yeah,
the
it's
easiest
definitely
thing to
some.
find.
Yeah, the books are the easiest thing for sure, but it's really like because hobbies are so expensive and Goosebumps is now. If you're just getting into it though, it's nice to maybe focus on one thing that you want, so you don't have to collect everything Goosebumps. Because if you do that, you're gonna be like Bjorn and have to dedicate like a whole room to your house for all your stuff, and
Yeah.
it's like it's crazy. The stuff he has, he got at a good deal because at the time again nobody wanted Goosebumps. Now that's back, that's my advice. Definitely stick to something that you like. If there's some one in particular that's a little more costly, definitely wait for a good deal because somebody at some point will probably sell one at a decent price. You
Hmm.
don't have to
Yeah.
buy it right away. Now, I will say the Fan Club 2000 pack, that's so rare. That's one of the items I can't say you can do that with. Much like the Cuckoo Clock that Bjorn has in the box. Like I've never seen another one in the box besides his. If that ever popped up and somebody offered like $1,000 for it, it'd be gone in a second.
It'd
It's
be
just
gone.
so
It's one
rare.
of those,
Most
one
of
of
the
those
other stuff, common stuff like like say the masks of Hana Mask and Curly, voice changer thing, or
tape
occasionally
dispensers.
like door knocker, yeah, the Slappy tape dispenser, things like that. If you just click Slappy, there you go, something like that.
Well, there's people that
Makes it
do
a
that.
little
There's
easier.
people that literally just collect haunted masks, like you, Nick. There's people that just collect Slappy, I've noticed. There's people that just have their. There's a guy that just collects Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. Like he loves the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's even people who collect nothing but mass mutant stuff. Weird.
oh,
Yeah, he does.
Uh, oh, and I actually just remembered. I remember back during the pandemic, I actually had a really good lot that I had found on eBay, and I only got it for like 30 something bucks. And it had the Live on Stage book in there. It had God, what else did it have? It just had like a bunch of rare books. And during that time too is when I found like screener tapes of Goosebumps and like stuff like that. Like the what was it? Oh, the original Haunted Mask screener. I found that on eBay for a very good price.
Wow.
And like again, it's like I had no idea this even existed, but I was doing my searching and lo and behold, I found it on eBay. So it's like again, you just gotta you really gotta look because sometimes not everything's gonna bubble to the surface either. You really gotta like dig deep sometimes in searchings to find some of like the good stuff. That's another piece of advice I can give. Jared, do you got any other pieces of advice to share?
Yeah, I mean, so my strategy, I have a very different approach, I guess, because for one thing, I focus on the books. I know if I were to get into the merch, then my strategy wouldn't really work.
Mhm.
But basically, I work toward just breaking even. So I don't really spend anything on these books overall. So there's no net spending. Um, I buy books in big lots on eBay generally, sometimes Mercari, because there's this general principle when you buy things in bulk, the price per unit decreases. Okay, so the price per book is going to be lower. So a lot of these books I'm buying for like maybe $2 per book in these big lots, and I take what I need, then I sell the rest. And since I'm selling a smaller number of books, sometimes individually, the price is going to be higher per book. So I end up breaking even. And I do this repeatedly. And it's actually how I found my rare books as well, because I found Trick or Trapped in a lot one time with some other rare books. Some of the rare books I didn't even need. So I just grabbed the ones I needed, like Trick or Trapped, sold the rest, even made a little bit of money, which I could then put to collecting. So that's generally what I do. And I don't spend $50 on an individual book, not generally. Every once in a while, I'll splurge. If I really can't find something and I really want it, then of course I'll get it. But most of the time, yeah, it's just buying books in the big lots and then taking what I need, selling the rest. Another piece of advice I have is, because you were talking about Welcome to Dead House.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that true first print of Welcome to Dead House, a couple things. One is, if for all the collectors out there, if you're looking for that true first print, make sure it actually is a true first print. There are tons of listings on eBay for Welcome to Dead House, and it says true first print on it, and it's not a true first print.
Mm-hmm.
It has to have that number one on that row of numbers, right, on the copy. We all know that, but others might not, and they might get tricked into thinking it's a true first print. And I believe that the sellers may be well-meaning, because they're just going off of what other books have sold for and what they were called. And so they're calling it a true first print. They're trying to sell it for like $40-$50 even, and nobody's buying it. But yeah, don't be tricked by that. The other thing is, I found there was a period of time where I just really wanted one. And I ended up getting 4 of them, because I started to realize that if I see Welcome to Dead House on eBay, and it looks like it could be a true first print, it says coming soon on the back of it, right, for the next book in the series. There's no number on the spine. The ISBN is on the front cover as well. So those are all clues that it's a true first print.
Yep.
But the thing is, they don't always show a picture of the copyright page, especially if just go for it. Don't ask them to show the copyright page. I've been burned like 3 or 4 different times by asking to see a picture of the copyright page, because as soon as I ask, they're looking it up. They're looking up, wait, why does this random person want to see a picture of the copyright page? They look it up, and then the listing disappears, and then it reappears later for a much higher price. It happened to me a bunch of times. There was even one time I bought it, because he finally showed me a picture of the copyright page, and I bought it immediately. I was like, oh, wow, this is great. It's in this big lot. I can sell the rest. I'll break even. And then he canceled the sale. And I asked him why, and he said, like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize how rare this book was. I was like, come on. So
That's not
I
my
had
problem.
that happen before too. There was a Facebook marketplace. This guy was selling this whole stack of Goosebumps books for $25, and there was like I Live in Your Basement in there, and a few TV presents, like a pretty good stack for $25. So I'm like, hey, I'll take it. I didn't even ask anything about like the books themselves. I was just like, hey, can I pick this up tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, sure. I was like, all right, then I'll take it. And then just like 24 hours later, he's like, actually, I'm gonna cancel this order. A buddy of mine told me that I could get more for these. So I'm like, well, first of all, curse him. Curse that buddy who told you that, because you messed up my sale. And then like a week later, he puts the same lot up again for $250. And you want to know the funny thing though, is that he didn't sell it until he brought it back down to $75. Like he kept bringing it down and down because nobody wanted to buy that. That's another thing too for sellers. Look, for sellers out there, I get it. You sometimes feel like certain things are a certain price, or you're just looking to make a good amount of money. That's understandable. But really use your head. Is somebody going to buy 10 books off you, even if they're rare, for $250? Maybe if they're made of money, but not many people are. So I plead with all the sellers out there, if any are watching or even, give a damn, just keep that in mind. Sometimes people don't want to buy things for the sort of prices that they're being put up for, even if they really want it.
Yeah, they should really just do auctions. Like if you do an auction, then the market's determining the price. That's generally what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want to be the one that's saying, all right, well, I want $200 for this book. No, I don't want to do that. Rather, I'd have an auction, and then it's the market that decides how much it's going to sell for, and that's what I prefer, and that's how it should be, really. Yeah,
it really should, especially for big lots, because that's how you see like lots of Goosebumps. They're usually auctions, because nobody's really going to ever have a clear set price on how to sell certain things, because maybe you have some, harder to stuff in your lot mixed with some like super common stuff that, I've seen lots where people like have more newer Goosebumps stuff and maybe like one or two old ones in there. And it's like people probably aren't buying it for all of them. They're buying it for a few of them. Auctions, like you said, determine the market. So people are like, okay, I'm not paying any past this, so I'm not gonna bet it anymore. Or if they're just gonna keep on going. And hey, maybe you'll make like a few $100s. You don't know. But usually if people see a big price tag on things, yeah.
That's where it kind of gets tricky though, because you got to look at what it previously sold for. Like they'll say like the last 3 or 4 and then kind of give you an average of what that particular item is probably worth. However, some of the stuff Goosebumps has doesn't seem to hit the light of day very often, so it's really hard to sometimes figure out what that actual market price is. And you kind of just got to go by what you're willing to pay for it. I mean, for instance, if I saw that prototype of the Haunted Mask on eBay, I'd probably sell my soul to get it, but that's a whole nother thing, deal with the devil. But that is literally like how it is though. Like some people ask $1,000 for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Will they get it? Probably, maybe, but it's hard to tell.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, that screener tape that you showed, I have, I bought one a long time ago, very cheap. I think it was like 30 or 40 bucks. Because again, this was when nobody really wanted Goosebumps, but I never looked at the tape inside until, I don't know, a year plus later. And the tape was actually the Haunted Mask 2. I was like, you son of a bee. So I was super upset. I mean, the case was obviously, you can't fake that. But then I ended up getting another copy, which is in much better condition. I don't know, for like $100. So it all panned out. And that one did have the right tape. However, I am seeing, like, I saw a sealed one not too long ago. And the guy on Macari, it was like $900. And the last one sold was only $125. Sealed, new. I'm like, dude, if you will go to that price, I'll take it. He's like, oh no, it's worth what I'm asking. I'm like, no, not according to the market. So don't pay what people are asking. He started bringing it down, and he eventually did sell it. I think it went for around like $300 though. So he did get over what the market was at the time, but he held on to that for like another 6 or 7 months before that happened.
Funny you brought that
bringing
up.
it down. He put it back up again, then he brought it down again. So it just, again, it's a waiting
Pick
game.
one or the
Sometimes you
other.
get lucky.
It's like pick one or the other. It's funny you brought that up. I had it happen with this tape. Now, I bought this in a 3-pack of screener tapes. It was this, Dead House, and Haunted Mask 2. So Haunted Mask 2 and Dead House, they are the actual tapes, but this one has the cover of Werewolf, but this is actually the screener tape for Haunted Mask. It doesn't actually say Haunted Mask, but it's the one for Haunted Mask, and I was so disappointed. Luckily, I got these for a good price. It wasn't breaking the bank, but it was more the principle sort of thing.
I got the sleeve for that cassette if you need one.
However,
because I have Haunted Mask 2, I just don't have,
this right here is one of my personal favorite pieces in my collection. It's a sealed 3-pack of Goosebumps VHS tapes, and I actually got this for $30 online. I think the seller had multiple of these, and he might have gotten it from like a warehouse or something, but he was selling them for only $30. And I was like, is this legit? And he's like, yeah, man. It's like, and I'm like, that I think I even asked, is like, are you sure it's $30? He's like, yeah, $30, man. That's all I'm asking for. So I got this for that amount of money, and it's fully sealed, and it's even got a little Goosebumps sticker on it. 3 Goosebumps videos, 1 low price, and even advertised the Series 2000. So it's like,
That's awesome.
Actually, Bjorn just got one too, but his had some kind of I don't know what you'd call that, like a cardboard piece that wrapped around on the outside. I remember seeing it on eBay, and it wasn't on there long because I wondered who got it, and then I saw Bjorn got it.
Get one
So cool.
free, and it's Terror Tower and
Haunted Mask.
so
I think I saw you post that. Yeah,
cardboard
that video.
piece around it, which was really, really interesting.
Bjorn, as we found out in our episode with 90s Kids Throwbacks, where we looked at the Goosebumps website, not only was there this 3-pack, but there apparently is one for Haunted Mass, Terror Tower, and Stay Out of the Basement. So that one's out there too. But sometimes my point with that story is that sometimes there's people out there who, and even with like Bjorn's story about the lawn gnome, sometimes there's just people out there who are looking to like get stuff and then like send them to a good home. Sometimes people are not out to make like that huge money. They just get something and then they're like, here, you can have this for a good price and like, add it to your collection. Even like the sort of thing that families do where they're like, oh, I heard you were collecting this. I heard you were collecting Goosebumps, so I got you these books. Like, it'll just be like, I remember for my birthday one year, people were like finding out I was liking Goosebumps books, and I was young. But they were like, here, I got you some Goosebumps books, and they have like a little bag full of like some Goosebumps books they found at a shop. So it's like sometimes your family and friends help you with the collecting. Has there ever been an instance like that for you guys?
I remember with the Dutch books that I have, they just randomly showed up on eBay. I think there were like 8 or 9 books, and I started like messaging them, and then they told me that they're actually a Dutch family living here in Florida, and they just wanted to like send it to a good home. So then we just started negotiating, and I think it was in the end it was like each book ended up being like $10, something like that. And I've seen them now for like 30, 40 plus shipping. Shipping is like, I don't know, depending where you are, $30, $40 in addition to what it's worth. So I'm like, wow. But yeah, they sometimes that shows up. With the Gareth Stevens book, I found another lot. I think there were 7 or 8 books, and they sold it to me. Like I purchased it for like 90 or $100 because I know they're worth more, and that was like almost a complete collection. And then unfortunately, like a few hours later, they canceled the order and never responded to my messages. It just gave me the refund. I was like,
That sucks. I hate when people
Gosh.
for that is another thing to bring up for those of you who are the Garrett Stevens hardcover Goosebumps books. That's these ones, and I would say these are very hard to find. Funny enough, they were actually printed in my home county of Milwaukee, which I found out that was pretty interesting. But these are pretty hard to find versions. There's only 10 of them, the first 10 books, and yeah, if you ever find one
Not
of
to be
these,
confused, there are hardcovers of the other books,
but they
as
were more
well.
meant for like libraries and stuff like
Right.
that. They're not super hard to find. I mean, definitely get them if you can. I got one of my own for Cuckoo Clock of Doom because it's the same one that I got when I first read that book way back in 2nd grade. If you want to learn more about that, watch our episode on first Goosebumps experiences. I go into a little more detail about that. But yeah, these books, definitely, if you find these out in the wild, definitely get them. I'm missing...
Five.
almost there, almost there.
Yep, I got
Wait,
one,
Wait,
two,
you're missing
three,
number
four,
5, or you're missing 5 books?
5. I want Welcome to Dead House.
I have 6. So I'm missing 2, 3, 5, and wait, hold on. 1, 4, 6, 7.
I think I have like 4 duplicates of those. But I think it's mainly
Welcome to
like
Dead House.
Oh yeah. 2, 3, 5, 8. That's what I'm missing. I was thinking I
Well-
forgot I said 6.
another advice is on Amazon. I found the one I sent you, Bjorn. I found it for $15 on Amazon.
Oi.
The
See?
Night of the Living Dummy. So
Oh.
that's how I ended up having an extra one. But
Yes.
Welcome to Dead House, I found it for $20, that version on Amazon. But when I got it, it was like it had a lot of water damage, and I just returned it because it was just really messed up. Like
This was actually I found this at Half Price Books and I got it for $10. This and
lucky
Night of the
for
Living
you.
Dummy. So I found both of these got them for $20 for both of them.
If anyone finds Welcome to Dead House, just let me know. I'm sure I've something to trade you. Like,
Well, it's so funny because I remember you and I were in talks of like if I ever find one of these Living Dummy ones, I'll send it to you. And I found a second one only after somebody already sent you.
just sent me it.
wonderful.
Literally.
Who was that?
Dave. Elvis, I think.
Yeah.
was his name. But like the best advice I can give to any Goosebumps collector now that's starting, best advice, get yourself a well-paid job.
Yes. Get some money so you can buy the cool stuff when it pops up.
And to be fair, be consistent. Don't think, oh, I'm not finding anything and give up. No, check every day. I check eBay, Amazon, Mercari, morning and night. Sometimes on my lunch break at work, I will check every day, and I will go to the same thrift stores, same bookstores, same collectible stores every week.
Persistence is key. Persistence is the number one key, because there have been many times, as I said, 1 in 7 times I go to Half Price Books and I find nothing. There's that one time where I have just a huge haul. And like, no matter how many times you go somewhere or look online and you're just like, oh, I can't find anything. Don't give up, because you are going to find something at some point. And sometimes it could be like, who knows? It could be something super, super rare, and you come across it first and you're the one who gets your hands on it. Like, that's persistence. And another thing you can do, get involved,
man. I mean, if you join in the community, like I was
just about to say, join a Goosebumps community.
I've helped multiple people. Elvis has helped me before. Bjorn's helped me before. I can't say Isaiah ever has. He's kind of a bad friend, but it is what it is.
I sent you like 10 first prints. Shut up.
He's fine, yes.
But
I mean, like,
join a Goosebumps
we had
group.
AJ Good on here from the House of Masks. I've helped him get something from his like childhood he really wanted, just through help from another community member. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of looking for this for somebody, and it's like, oh, well, you know what? Here it is. Here, I found it on this, and I missed it. Even though I have like alerts set up through eBay and a couple other places, like I don't always get them for some reason. I don't know why that is. I sometimes have to turn the notification off and back on again. So if that's happening to you, just do that. Sometimes that works.
Something you can do is join a Goosebumps group. Join a Goosebumps group, like even a Facebook group. The one I can definitely recommend, because we're a part of it, is the Goosebumps Ultimate Fan Club. I think that's what it's called. That place on Facebook is a me and Nick, and are all of us on there? Bjorn, you're on there
Elvis
too, right?
is on there. Bjorn's on there.
Yeah, so we're all on there.
I post there a lot, yeah.
So that's a great place for people to share what they found, but also people usually will put listings up on there. They'll be like, hey, I'm selling these books. Like, if you want them, like, message me. On Instagram too, like, you know, there's always people being like, hey, I have listings up, you know, for this book. Like, this book is on my shop. Another person, Goosebumps Guru, has his own Goosebumps shop where he's always putting up like super rare books and merchandise and whatnot. And
now, how he finds some of the stuff he does, I have no idea. But I'm telling you what, like, it baffles me sometimes. I'm like, I've never seen this before. Where the hell did you get it?
It would have been bought back in the day, like when I was finding stuff too. It would have been bought at a time when it was on eBay. No one cared. No one was searching for Goosebumps apart from a very small minority of people.
Yeah.
Well, he had another box, another 2000 fan club box. I remember a few months ago. I saw it like in the morning. I went to work, got to work, made some coffee, went back, sold. So,
okay. That's another really good piece of advice, is just to jump on those things when they're available.
Act fast.
And especially like thrift books. So I get alerts from thrift books sometimes. And like, you have to be so fast buying those books. If it's a good deal, just click until you buy it, and just before somebody else.
Too. I've seen listings that go up for like 1 or 2 hours and then they're already gone. Like, trust me, never underestimate how many people are keeping an eye on this stuff. If you see something and it's available, buy it. Like,
don't sleep on it.
Jump on it. Especially if it's a good price.
Don't break yourself, though. Don't stretch your money. That's not what we're saying.
Oh yeah, it's like
spend beyond your budget. But if you see it and you have the money, definitely snag it ASAP. Yeah.
If you have the budget and you find a ridiculously good deal on something, do not wait, because more than likely someone else is going to pounce on that, and then you might be regretting it.
Have a well-paid job.
That's why I say like the Goosebumps community is really great. If you guys who are listening aren't a part of the Facebook group, let me tell you, like, so I have some stuff up for sale right now, just kind of clearing out, making room for new stuff that'll come in eventually, stuff like that. Because I have limited space in my house for stuff, and I'm just kind of getting over. I got too much crap. So basically, if somebody wanted a Goosebumps coffin towel that I got from Creepsville like forever ago, it's one I didn't put a price on. I said just make an offer, a reasonable one. They were like, "Oh, would you take 75 or 100?" I'm like, "Dude, that's way too much for that towel. I mean, come on. I mean, they don't make it anymore, of course, and they don't do a lot of Goosebumps stuff." I was like, "But you know, he was buying something else for me." I was like, "It's only worth like maybe $40, like tops, 40, $50." I was like, so
Elvis,
sometimes you'll come across some good people in there, though.
Yeah, so I think it was last week. I haven't shown it to. Like, I have a bunch of videos of unboxing that are saved up, and I had an issue with my previous Instagram page. So I just had to like do everything again.
Yeah.
Found this you know how there's this program for the Goosebumps Live on Stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
I found a program for Goosebumps Alive.
Cool.
It was like, I think $13 plus shipping. It came from the UK, which was where the show was, right? And I'm still doing some research. I'm not sure if the producer actually was the one that wrote some information, like a dedication in the book, but it's like I've never seen it before. And I asked him, like Tim Jacobus, I was like, "Hey, do you know anything about this?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's the cover I made for the Goosebumps Alive book." I'm like, and he's like, "It's very rare." I'm like, "It is."
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it like online, anybody selling it, but I did come across on YouTube while I was doing some research. There's this girl, fangirl something, I forgot her name. But she actually went to the show and she had like a whole review of what it was, how many books they made. There was like posters and stuff made also for the show. And the show lasted like 2 or 3 months, I believe, right? Which makes it even more, I guess, complicated to find things about that specific show.
Mm-hmm.
The one
Very
I
much
have
so.
has the program and the Say Cheese and Die story in it. So it's like one little book. It's basically the same size of a Goosebumps book, but it comes with all of that kind of stuff. So that took me to find the CD of the band that actually created the soundtrack of that too.
The Tiger Lilies, yeah.
And I found one, but it's in, I think Ireland or something like that. They're selling it, and they're still around for like $15 too. So if you guys are like into that kind of stuff or have like a little like collection from that show, you know that it's still around. You can still find it.
Well, and it also, another piece of advice, get to know the people who work on Goosebumps stuff, because you never know when they'll send you some cool stuff too. In fact, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up. Just today, the day that we're recording this, Jared, you received you both have received drawings from the Goosebumps cover artist, but you received a very special one today from Craig White, the artist on Give Yourself Goosebumps, who basically drew Slappy for the very first time. That is a really rare piece that you now got in your possession.
It was at my request. I was just so I noticed that he started to do like mashups of his covers with other stuff, or like different versions of his covers. So I figured like I might as well just ask him to draw Slappy, because I just think that would be so cool to get his version of Slappy, and it looks really good. I'm so happy. I wanted to mention too, because you mentioned like just contacting some of these people who are actually involved in the making of Goosebumps stuff, because there was somebody on the Goosebumps Ultimate fan club page and also on Instagram who shared a Motor City Comic-Con program, like a booklet that had Tim Jacobus's art on it. It was a Say Cheese and Die. And it looked so cool. I really wanted it. And I asked this guy, like, did you grab any extras? I'm sure there were tons there. And he didn't. He only grabbed the one. And then I was looking online. I was like, well, is there anybody selling them yet? Where can I find them? And then I eventually just decided, you know what? I'm just going to ask Tim. I'm just going to email Tim, see if he got any extra. And he did. And he sent me one. So now I have it. But yeah, so just, and Tim Jacobus, I mean, yeah. So just, always just feel free to message these people. Tim Jacobus too. He's very approachable through email. He answers all emails. They're very short, curt responses, but he does respond.
Yeah.
Busy guy, I get it.
Yes, they are.
Yep, it's how he is. And
Yeah, but he's very friendly and approachable. I talked to him on the phone once. Yeah, just such a nice guy. But yeah, I'm sure and he'd answer any questions you have too.
and one thing I gotta bring up is just that, and I don't know, maybe it's because we've done this Sphere podcast, but a lot of these people who have been involved with Goosebumps are starting to get back in Goosebumps. Craig White and Tim Jacobus, Craig White especially, is really embracing Goosebumps lately. And he's doing commissions for Goosebumps art. Like, don't be afraid to reach out to these people because not only are they're super friendly people, but I feel like they'd be more than happy to hook you up with maybe a commission or a drawing, of course, for pay.
Right.
But yeah, definitely if you get in contact with them, super nice people, and I'm sure they'd be willing to hook you up somehow. And again, the Goosebumps community is large and vast, and there's a lot of people willing to help you out. There was one time, shout out to my friend Ilis Eric over on Instagram. We did an awesome trade a few months ago where I gave him some of the original series books that he was missing, and in return, he gave me Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes TV Presents. So I essentially did not have to pay a dime, I mean, if you don't include the shipping, to get one of the rarest and most valuable Goosebumps books in existence. People are out there. They'll help you. Never be afraid to reach out to somebody for, just helping to build your collection. Especially people like us who have like shelves of original series. Like, just let us know. Like, maybe we can make something work and we can help you guys, get to where you need to be. And one more thing I'll bring up before we end things off for the night. There's another thing to look out for when you're collecting. Indian reprints. Make sure you check your books when you find rare books because, and I say the Indian ones in particular, because those books are pretty one-to-one with the American copies. But a lot of them are very recently printed and they're not the same value. I made a whole Instagram reel about this over on our Instagram page, the Goosebumps Crew. I go into more detail on that, but that's another thing to look out is just make sure that they are check the copyright page. Check the copyright page. That is a way that you will know for sure how much these things are worth. But before we end off the evening, I guess, Jared, Elvis, do you guys got any final words or pieces of advice to leave the audience with?
Jared, you can go.
Oh, yeah. For me, like finding things when you're out in the wild, thrifting is the best feeling, but I hardly ever find them out in the wild anymore. I know the situation's the same with you guys. There's just so many resellers. So I've really embraced buying things online. And for me, the hunt is very similar. I'm scrolling, I'm hunting, looking for just the right books in those lots to see if I can get a rare book that I need, sell the rest, as long as the whole lot's selling for a good price. And the feeling's very much the same when I actually do find something. So I'll say, yeah, just if you try that method, I think it can work out for you. But you have to really train yourself to recognize what's going to be a great price for this lot in terms of, okay, well, can I sell the rest of them and break even or make a little more? And even if you don't break even, you're still getting a very rare book at an extraordinarily discounted price by selling the rest of the books in that lot. So it's a really great strategy. It's worked for me.
You could also look at it at a face value. It's like, yeah, you're basically getting one book and maybe the price is a little bigger, but think about the value amongst all the other books.
Right.
Like say you're spending $50 for a lot of 10 books and you only want one, you're still getting that book for $5. So
and I'll give you an example too, because I was missing Goosebumps TV Presents Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns. It was the last one that I needed. And I was looking for just the right lot where I could buy the whole thing and sell the rest. And I eventually found one, and it was all of the Goosebumps TV Presents, all of them, even all the rarest ones too. And it was selling for a lot. It was selling for $400. So I had to buy, so I bought all of them. I took Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns, and then I sold the rest and broke even. Because, even so, like Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes by itself, along with Calling All Creeps by itself, I was still able to sell the rest and break even. But I had to put up all this money ahead of time and then sell it before my credit card bill was due.
Yeah.
And it worked out, though, so it was all good.
Yeah. I hope one day I can find the rest of those books because I got Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes, but I don't feel like I'm going to be very, very lucky with all that.
Isaiah. So, sorry.
Oh, good.
We just got a puppy here. So the puppy was down here.
I saw it. I saw it. What kind of puppy is it?
He's a golden doodle.
Did you give it a Goosebumps name?
Yeah, we're trying to change the name, but if you're interested,
Larry.
Is it Fifi?
present. No, not Fifi.
Larry.
TV presents. I got these duplicates.
You got,
Trying to zoom in there to see which one's there.
you got
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you guys a picture. I think I posted this a while ago on Instagram. I still have them. But if you're interested, we could, I don't know, talk about it, send to
we can make a deal.
Let's make a
yeah,
deal.
'cause I guess sorry about that. I guess an advice would be for me, focus and patience. I actually found that in a lot. I just needed the same case as Jared. I only needed the same book actually, Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns, and it was like 200 something. So he sold it to me, and I was like, I'll just sell the rest. But I just left them there because they were like really good quality. So I'm like, I think I'll keep them for a while. But I just left them there. But in the end, I bought several lots, and in one of those lots, there was another Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns. And I had just bought one from Goosebumps Guru, which was a hardcover version of that.
That's
So
really
now
cool,
I have
yeah.
three of those. So I'm like, this reminds me of Bjorn when he has like 4 or 5 copies, I think, of
Lawn gnomes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're patient and focused, you can find what you're looking for. And I'll give you an example. I found 2 of the Series 2 collectibles in a lot. And it was the postcard book, the first one from Goosebumps, the curly, the big head that has like little hands, like rubber hands, and a few other items for like $100. The person that had them had no idea of the value of Attack of the Mutant and Executioner. So I was like, oh, and I just took it quickly.
Mhm.
So now I could say I have 4 out of the 6. 2 are loose, 2 are in box. So, but Scarecrow and I'm missing Scarecrow and what is the other one? The other
No
round?
man, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those 2, which are around. The Babylon Snowman is around, but they're just asking a lot of money for that one. So
Yep.
Way too much.
Yep. It's that persistence again, and just never give up. You're always gonna hit a lot of road bumps, but if you keep at it, you will find what you're looking for eventually. So it's just keeping at it. Don't give up, and definitely once again, I was just gonna say, that was a clear example right there of looking out for other folks in the Goosebumps community. Hell, even me, Bjorn, and Nick, we're always doing trades and exchanges and stuff like that, or we find something and we're like, hey, I'll send it to you. It's just that camaraderie in the Goosebumps community that's going to help
Got a
you.
box of Bjorn stuff right here.
Yeah, so it's
You got some of your stuff.
there's a sense of camaraderie, and the best way to start your collection is to just be persistent, keep a good eye out, keep focused, and maybe make a friend or two in the Goosebumps community, maybe even ones who have more than enough of what you're looking for. Maybe they'll be nice. But yeah, and I mean, we scratched the surface barely of like talking about collections and stuff like that. And if any of you at the audience want to hear us talk about this topic more in the future, leave it in the comments below. We'd be happy to talk more about this and give some more advice, share some more experiences in the future, because we're hardcore Goosebumps collectors and we have many more stories to tell. But for now, that is going to do it for tonight's episode of the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. I want to give super special thanks to Jared and Elvis, 90s Kids Library, and Nostalgic Goosebumps. You guys, we loved having you on the show, and we'd be happy to have you back on again sometime soon.
thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And for our audience at home, if you guys want to go ahead and plug where our audience can find you on social media, Jared, let's start with you real quick.
Yeah, 90s Kid Library on Instagram, and I love it when you guys message me. I love hearing about your latest hauls. I get a lot of messages or questions. Always happy to hear from you guys. I also recently started a YouTube, but I haven't put up any videos yet. But it's still the same name, 90s Kid Library, so you can look that up too.
Ellis?
On Instagram, you can find me as NostalgicGoosebumps. A year ago, I created YouTube, but I never posted anything.
Same
Over
thing.
there, it has my previous name that I had, Goosebumps Nostalgia, so you can find me there too as well. I try to do some unboxing, little by little.
Yep, absolutely. So you guys can go check them out on social media and their YouTubes. I'll leave them in the description below. As always, check them out. And again, hope to have you guys back on here sometime soon. We really appreciate you coming on. And as always, make sure, as always, you also follow Bjorn and Nick at Goosebumps Austin and Sean, respectively, on their social medias and YouTubes. And if you liked today's episode, make sure you leave a like and comment. Subscribe to the Goosebumps Crew YouTube channel. Follow us on our audio platforms and social medias. All of those links are in the description below, so check them out. We'll have another Goosebumperific episode for you next week. But until then, this has been the Goosebumps Crew Podcast, and from all of us here, we want to wish you all to take care, stay safe, and have a very scary day.